Hey, what's up, guys? It's Andrew Olsentowski. I'm back with another UFC prediction video. This time, UFC 316. Dvalishvili against O'Malley 2. This event goes down in a couple weeks. Goes down Saturday, June 7th, 2025. Prelims begin at 6 p.m. and it's going down from Newark, New Jersey. So let's get into it, guys. First prelim fight: Quillan's Salkild against Yonal Ashmus. He's coming off a win. He out-grappled Trevor Peek. It wasn't really an exciting fight, from what I can remember. Quinlan, 8-fight winning streak, 25 years old. Beat Ashlan Jubilee by right cross, 19 seconds in the first round back in February. Beat Gage Young prior to that on the Contender Series. And again, I think I'm going to side with Quinlan here. He is a minus 380 favorite. So I am going to side with Quinlan here to get it done. Osmat Murzakanov against Branson Ribeiro. Seems like Ribeiro has been fighting often. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. After starting his UFC career 0-2, he beat Kyle Machado, beat Dayar Nurzage, and now I think he's back down at light heavyweight now. Well, he was. Okay, he's been at light heavyweight. Machado moved down a couple fights ago. And Azamat, he hasn't lost yet. Not in the UFC, at least. Not in his professional record either. But he hasn't fought in a while, I don't feel like. Last fought in August of 2024, so I guess it wasn't too long ago. Beat Menafield by TKO. So he's got some really good wins here. I'm going to side with Murzakanov, man, to keep the winning streak going. Chaos Williams against Uros Medic. Medic, like I said, he's a former lightweight, moved up to welterweight, and he just can't really get a streak going, man. He's coming off a surprising loss to Punolali Soriano. And that's a guy that's dropped from middleweight to welterweight, and he knocked him out in 31 seconds, which is surprising because I know I did pick Medic in that fight. Beat Tim Means prior to that. But again, it's kind of like he really can't get a streak going. And he's going up against Chaos Williams, another hard-hitting guy. Let's take a look at his record. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. Lost to Gabriel Bonfim. Technical submission by Darce. No shame in that. We know how good Bonfim is on the ground. But I think I'm going to side with Chaos here, man. I could see this fight going either way. I could see it going to the decision too, possibly. Let's look at the odds. Chaos is a minus 165. If you're betting it, it's probably dog or pass, but I think I'm going to pick Chaos to pick up the win here. Ju Sang Yu against Jika Saraga, and he's coming off a loss. He lost to Weston Wilson, a triangle armbar. And these guys are 145ers. Ju Sang Yu, 11-fight winning streak. Again, hasn't fought in the UFC yet, but I'm going to side with him here. I mean, obviously, I'm sure the UFC is bringing him in here to win. Take a look at the odds. He's a minus 500. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Yu to win. Sergey Spivak against Waldo Cortes-Acosta. And I think the UFC has tried to fade Acosta a couple times in his UFC career, man. This guy, he keeps winning. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, 33 years old. He kind of is a heavyweight prospect in my mind, man. And he is moving up the heavyweight rankings. He's coming off a nice win over Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann tried stepping up to heavyweight. Didn't work out for him. Beat Robelis to Spain. And I think the UFC, was, trying to get to Spain a win there. And I don't really think they should have cut to Spain because he is an exciting fighter, man. The guy doesn't really have a ground game, but he it's not all that bad. It could be worse. So I didn't agree with them cutting to Spain, but they did what they did. And he beat Andrei Arlovsky, beat Lucas Bereski. I mean, he lost to Marcos Rogerio de Lima, but that was kind of early in his UFC career. Beat Chase Sherman. I mean, so this guy has looked really good. Beat Jared Vandera. So it's about time he's getting a step up, and Spivak's a nice test for him. Again, Spivak, he had that nice win over Marcin Tybura, I believe, last summer. He subbed Tybura from the bottom. And, I think he's come up short a couple times since, man. at least once since. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, 30 years old. They gave him a step up in competition, Jailton Almeida, and Jailton Almeida completely controlled him here. So again, this is an interesting fight here between him and Cortes-Acosta. Let's take a look at the reach. 78-78. So this is a really good fight. I mean, Spivak might try to drag him down. I don't know. It's an interesting fight here. I'm going to side with Cortes-Acosta, but man, I could see this going either way. Ariane Lipski against Kong Wang. I mean, we know Kong Wang, she's got a weakness, and that's the ground. Can Lipski get her there? Can she, will she take it there? And can she take it there? And then will she be able to sub her? Because Kong Wang should have an advantage on the feet here. So I'm going to side with Kong Wang here. Again, Lipski is on a 2-fight losing streak. So I think the UFC knows that they've reached a level with Lipski, and she's not going to get past that level. But again, she's picked up some decent wins in her career. Wins over Gatto, Aldridge. Aldridge is a really good fighter. So, I mean, she has faced a tougher level of competition here, but I'm going to side with Kong Wang. Bruno Silva against Joshua Van. Again, Joshua Van's only hiccup was the Charles Johnson, but man, this guy fights often and he wins. Lost to Johnson again about a year ago, or 10 months ago. Beat Edgar Shires, Cody Durden, Rai Sarua. I mean, the guy just keeps winning, man, and he fights a lot. Bruno Silva, he pulled off that win over Cody Durden, but again, he got really beat up by Manel Cape back in December and has not fought since. And I'm going to side with Joshua Van here to pick up the win. Mario Batista against Patchy Mix. Very interesting fight. We're going to see how Bellator stacks up against the UFC here. Again, I don't think the UFC is too high on Batista coming off his last win. How he beat Jose Aldo, just holding him up against the cage. That's not going to get you any favors for the UFC, man. But he's had some nice wins prior to that, so no shame in that. And they're giving him a stiff test here, man. Obviously, the matchmakers are high on Patchy Mix. This guy's looked really good as of late. 7-fight winning streak, 31 years old. I mean, he hasn't lost since I had a bet on him against Juan Archuleta in that Bellator title fight 5 years ago. And like I said, I remember that because I had Mix in that fight, and I thought he was going to control Juan Archuleta, and it was the exact opposite. Juan Archuleta dominated that fight. And but my pick here is going to be Patchy Mix, and I look forward to seeing how this fight plays out. Vicente Luque against Kevin Holland. Again, I know Luque is kind of a diminished fighter at this point in his career, but Kevin Holland, he's just, I don't know, he just doesn't take fights seriously enough. I mean, I'm really surprised he pulled off the win over Gunnar Nelson, but he did. Props to him. He needed that win badly, and he got it. But it's good to see him fighting at 170 now. That's probably the weight class he should be, so maybe he will take this seriously, and maybe he will knock out Vicente Luque here. Luque, he's on a 1-fight winning streak. Beat Timbo Garimbo back in December, and he made it look easy. He stunned him, got him in that anaconda. And man, I mean, people were saying Garimbo, I probably picked Garimbo too, was gonna like, knock out Luque, but man, Luque showed there's levels to this, man. He showed up motivated, and he shows you how dangerous he is. So I don't see Kevin Holland catching Luque in anything. But Luque, I could see him subbing Kevin Holland because Holland's been subbed, but again, he survived against Gunnar Nelson. But I'm going to side with Luque here. Kelvin Gastelum against Joe Pyfer. Man, 10 years ago, Gastelum was the guy putting out veterans, man. Beating up Nate Marquardt and other veterans of the game. But it's been a far cry from anything since 10 years ago. Beat Johnny Hendricks up. Again, he's fought beat Jake Ellenberger up. So he, at the time, man, he beat up a lot of washed up guys or guys the UFC didn't really care for. But man, he suffered a stretch. But man, he's obviously been a favorite of the UFC for a while. And it's good that he's going back up to middleweight because he can't make welterweight. He couldn't make it against Daniel Rodriguez. He picked up the win there. But the UFC's not giving him any favors here in this fight against Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer's a hard-hitting middleweight, man, and I'd like to see the guy get some more main event spots because, yeah, he did pick up those first 2 rounds against Jack Hermansson, but yeah, he lost the last 3. But you know what? That was his first main event. Jack Hermansson's a tricky fighter, and but this guy's got power, man. There's no doubt about it, and I do think the guy is a serious prospect at middleweight. Beat Marc-Andre Barriault, and he made it look easy. And Kelvin Gastelum, I don't think Gastelum's gonna be able to hold up to his power, man. I don't think Gastelum can really hurt Pyfer, and I think Pyfer can really hurt Gastelum here. So my pick's gonna be Pyfer. Juliana Pena against Kayla Harrison. I mean, I would say the value's on the dog. I mean, Kayla Harrison shouldn't be a minus 650 over anybody. But again, I'm not really high on Pena, you know, per se. I thought Pennington probably deserved the nod in that last fight. Again, it was really close. But I am going to side with Harrison here. But again, just because I think the UFC would like to see her win. Amanda Nunes might come out of retirement. There might be some other fights that open up for Kayla Harrison. Maybe the UFC promotes Kayla really hard. But again, it's, you know, I think Amanda Nunes is better than both these fighters. Again, Kayla Harrison doesn't really have the striking. Pena doesn't really have the striking. Harrison's the better grappler. Again, Harrison probably has a huge weight cut to 135, so you got to question her cardio. You got to question her conditioning just from the weight cut. But I am going to side with Kayla Harrison here. Main event, Merab Dvalishvili against Sean O'Malley. The rematch. O'Malley hasn't had a fight since. He's been quiet. Really haven't seen any news articles on him. Haven't Googled him, but again, he's been quiet. Tells me he's probably taking it serious, man. He may have made some lifestyle changes since then. But again, props to him. He went all 5 rounds with Merab. He's learned a lot about Merab. He still has a huge height and reach advantage on Merab. So I do think there's some upside to O'Malley here. And then plus the first fight, it was, you know, it was pick 'em odds. Maybe a slight lean to Merab. But again, you're seeing plus 255 on O'Malley, and it was even higher in the last week. But you know, word came out that Merab broke a toe, and then you know, you're just reading more and more about Merab saying, you know, he's not, you know, how motivated can he be to do this, man? I mean, the guy's fighting often. He says if he wins here, he wants to fight 2 more times in 2025. So again, the guy's, I mean, I credit him, man. He's doing it for his legacy. He knows that, you know, his fighting career is limited by time. So, but it's just in this sport, and the UFC knows this too, man. You know, it's so hard to be a real dominant champion. There's very few of them, and the odds are really skewed in those championship fights. But again, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know how motivated Merab is. I'm sure he's motivated to win to some regards, but you almost feel like the challenger in these fights is a little more motivated here. And, you know, O'Malley's seen the best of Merab, and Merab hasn't seen the best of O'Malley. You know, O'Malley got controlled. So I am going to pick O'Malley for the upset, man. I'm saying, man, maybe Merab's takedowns get stuffed. You know, he kind of gasses, that toe affects him. I'm not saying O'Malley knocks him out. Maybe he does, but I kind of see more of an O'Malley, maybe a decision. And I mean, you're going up against a guy that's got insane cardio and a great pace, but I am going to go with O'Malley here. I just feel like the value is clearly all on O'Malley. Whether he gets it done or not, I don't know. But for an underdog pick, and for just how inflated the odds are compared to the first fight, you know, which was 9 months ago, I am going to side with Sean O'Malley. So again, guys, my picks: O'Malley, Harrison, Pyfer, Luque, Mix, Van, Wang, Cortes-Acosta, Williams, Murzakanov, and Salkild.